Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Johanna Chan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Outrage on social media after elderly man in a Shanghai nursing home was mistaken for dead. Monsoon and showers led to Hong Kong's coldest day in May in 105 years. And more than 100 civilians trapped inside a Ukrainian factory finally see the light of day. We start tonight with COVID updates on the mainland. There was a brush with death for an elderly resident at a Shanghai nursing home. The patient was wrapped in a body bag and loaded onto a hearse when workers realized that he was still alive. Local authorities are investigating, while some netizens felt the blunder was equivalent to murder. Chloe Feng tells us more.
There was outrage on social media over a horrific blunder by staff at a Shanghai nursing home. In a video captured by a bystander, workers from a funeral home were seen pulling a body bag out of the hearse. They were apparently shocked after detecting movement from the body. The workers unzipped the bag and confirmed the man was still alive. He is alive. Did you see? Stop covering his face. A funeral parlor worker told the staff member from the nursing home. A nearby resident also captured the appalling moment from a balcony across the road. How can this even happen in the world? It's unethical and utterly irresponsible, the man said. The nursing home workers eventually took the resident back inside. The episode triggered an outpouring of anger and grief online. Authorities confirmed the mix-up today, and 5 officials linked to the case have been either sacked or disciplined. The nursing home has apologized, and a further investigation is still ongoing. The senior resident was reportedly sent to a hospital and is now in stable condition. More than 1 month into a COVID lockdown, Shanghai reported over 7,300 infections today, including about 700 symptomatic cases. There were also 32 COVID-related deaths at the financial hub today. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Unlike Shanghai, a blanket lockdown was not announced in Beijing, which reported just 41 infections today. But some residents in the capital complained that freedom of movement was at the mercy of their community officials. Chloe Feng reports.
It came at a heavy price, but the drastic measures seemed to have tamed the minor COVID outbreak in Beijing. Infections in the capital further declined to 41 today, compared to 59 a day earlier. While keeping a close eye on the development in Shanghai, most residents are not concerned about a lockdown. That's after everyone was asked to conduct PCR tests every other day during the 5-day holiday. But Alex, who lives in Chaoyang district, complained of inconsistent policies within the district level.
I don't really have any specific restrictions, but I can feel for others because many of my friends, they have to stay home. The manager of the community will do whatever they want. They will change, and then your plan depends on them because they might not let you go out.
Residents must present a negative PCR test result to enter public venues during the Labor Day holiday. But Alex said the rule was not always enforced.
Look, I'm going to KFC right now, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to pick up my coffee, and everything is fine. See? It's the problem in Beijing. There's nothing. It's not always the same. And that's the annoying part, you know. Now I can go through KFC, no problem. The next one, I cannot. But when it's about your basic freedom to go in and out of your apartment, like my friend, this is very bad.
A makeshift hospital known for its contribution to contain the SARS epidemic 2 decades ago has been brought back into service. Called Xiaotangshan, the facility is capable of housing 1,200 patients. Chloe Feng, HKIBC.
Rescuers in the central city of Changsha are racing against time to look for dozens of residents who are either trapped or missing from a collapsed building.
你看到那个荧光棒吗？很好，对呀，哪个方向？
According to the authorities, another 2 people were pulled out alive from the wreckage. Only 7 have been rescued so far. An 8th survivor was detected, but rescuers are still trying to reach her. The 8-story building, located near a medical university in the city, suddenly gave in around noon last Friday. Reports suggested the top 2 floors of the building were illegally added. 9 people have been detained, including the owner and those in charge of the construction. Back in Hong Kong, an untimely monsoon coupled with showers has caused the temperature to plummet overnight. The observatory recorded 16.4 degrees Celsius this morning, the city's coldest day in May for over a century. Maisie Mock reports.
Just days after the first very hot weather warning of the year was issued, Hong Kongers had to put on multiple layers again on the last day of the Labor Day weekend. A low of 16.4 degrees Celsius was recorded at the observatory's headquarters in Tsim Sha Tsui this morning. The mercury even dipped to 9.8 degrees on Tai Mo Shan. This represents the coldest day in May since 1917. I'm now at Tsuen Wan waterfront where the temperature is 25 degrees Celsius according to my thermometer. It is not as low as the 16.4 degrees Celsius according to the Hong Kong Observatory this morning, but it still does not feel like a typical May day.
非常之舒服啦。
This man in Sham Shui Po described today's weather as comfortable.
而家啲世界咁啊，變幻莫測啊！
But another said elderly people like him find the unpredictable weather hard to adapt.
Showers actually began to affect Hong Kong yesterday morning, and under the influence of cool air associated with the northeast monsoon, the temperature progressively dropped during the day from about 25 degrees Celsius at first to around 17 degrees midnight. As the showers continued, the temperature further dropped to 16.4 degrees Celsius this morning. Under the influence of a relatively dry continental airstream, the weather will be generally fine with temperatures rising in the following few days.
Today was the 3rd coolest May Day since records began in 1884. The mark was only eclipsed on 2 days, both in 1917. Maisie Mock, HKIBC.
Hong Kong's COVID situation continues to stabilize, with daily cases returning to early February levels. Authorities reported 283 cases, 11 of which were imported. There were also 5 COVID-related deaths. The hospital authority announced 10 general outpatient clinics will resume consultations tomorrow, with more to follow depending on the manpower situation. Around 1,900 secondary schools and kindergartens will also resume face-to-face lessons tomorrow. Students must conduct RAT tests before returning to campus. Overseas, another 100 or so civilians have been evacuated from a besieged steel plant in southeastern Ukraine with the help of international aid groups. Many of the evacuees have been hiding underground for 2 months, living in complete darkness with little food or water. One day after announcing the evacuation of around 20 civilians from a besieged steel plant, Ukrainian forces backed up their claim with video proof. Footage shared by the Azov regiment showed more civilians, including children, climbing out of what looked like the Azovstal steel factory in Mariupol. After spending the past 2 months in complete darkness, they were led out of the underground bunkers and brought to safety. There was a sigh of relief once they boarded a bus, among them a 2-month-old toddler. This woman was worried about the kids, saying they were starving all the time. The United Nations and Red Cross have arranged a safe passage to bring people from the plant to neighboring Zaporizhzhia, north of Mariupol. But further details were withheld for the safety reasons, as the operations remain underway. As many as 100,000 people are believed to be still stuck in Mariupol, home to the last pocket of Ukrainian resistance against Russian forces in the region. In his daily address, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky hit out at Moscow for destroying food and agricultural warehouses as well as residences with airstrikes. He also warned of a global food crisis, as Ukraine's grain exports are now stranded in ports on the Black Sea. With buildings razed to the ground and roads destroyed, Ukrainians now face more difficulties in their daily lives. Even getting around could be a problem, as people in Kyiv struggle to fill up the tanks of their cars. Authorities urge residents to use public transport, but their plea fell on deaf ears as long queues formed outside petrol stations. To battle the supply shortage, a limit of 10 liters of fuel is applied to drivers on each visit. A tornado has destroyed over 1,000 buildings in the U.S. state of Kansas and injured at least 4 people. Residents in the Wichita suburb of Andover were seen picking up the pieces of their homes, now in ruin. The tornado, which generated winds up to 266 kilometers per hour, left behind a path of destruction stretching 20 kilometers. Those injured included 2 firefighters. Over 15,000 residents have since had their power restored, but authorities said it will take years for the suburb to rebuild. On to the weather now. Mainly fine and dry tomorrow, with temperatures rising to 24 degrees. The hot weather will return later in the week. Now let's take a look at the weather around the world. That's our main news for Monday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Johanna. Thanks for watching. Good night.